Hello, hello. How's it going, everyone? And let's get this cover off. Oop. How's it going, everyone? And welcome to another stream. Hopefully you're doing well, as I am I. Today, we are going to continue our focus on working on our Notion API wrapper for Elixir. Been having some good fun, making some good progress, and we will continue on that journey. Hey, what's up, Juan? How you doing today? All right. So let's go ahead and get into it. Um, so where we off last time was we finished doing the implementing the functions to call the databases, the various data endpoints for the databases for a Notion doc. We were going to move on to implementing the same thing for pages. But since we're going to be implementing more stuff, we need to have a little bit more robust testing or testing period for the extension, or not for the extension, for the library. And at the towards the tail end of the stream, started working on integrating XVCR, which is an HTTP mocking library to make it easy to make sure that our code, no matter the changes, still function and return back data properly from doing a recorded mock request to the Notion API. So that is what we're going to finish doing at the end of the stream. We've successfully finished integrating XVCR, and we ran one test to make sure that at least getting the databases works and returns back data just fine. So we're just going to continue rolling on that, implementing the checks for the other endpoints, and then we'll go on to pages and implement pages, and then we'll do the same thing with tests. So let's just make sure everything's still running fine. And yeah. So I'm going to let this run. Would you like to try out VS Code's new native UI testing? Let's try that out. Just answering something. Okay, so this failed. So this is brand new. UI test integration. Click to run tests. Click, right click from options, peak error. Okay. How? HBS JSON API client. Okay, so it's failing. Um, how do I see the output? So this is a brand new thing. So I'm like, what the heck? Okay, well, it's not, I don't know what it's doing. So we're just gonna run mix test on here. Okay. Oh, I wonder if it's because I need to run the tests with environment variable set. Nope. Wait. Yep, that's it. See, I thought that. Uh, I thought that this would be fine. I guess it's looking for the environment variable. And if it doesn't exist, then it will error out. That's what's going on. If we'll probably have to, in the testing context, set it such that it's it either gets the environment variable or maybe defaults to a dummy variable or dummy environment value. A second to check something. Okay, sorry, just replying to somebody. Okay, so I wonder if I can try to set a config, a test environment config or something to default the Notion API key when running tests. Because it's failing because the API key must exist. What I can do also is potentially do this such that if we're in the test environment just and the API key is null, just return empty is I'm thinking, because I feel like we should be able to record the request at the environment variable to actually, run execute the HTTP request. But subsequent tests, especially if it's in like in CI, shouldn't have to need the environment variable because the requests are being mocked out anyway. Let me get some background tunes going. There we go. In Elixir, how do we test? How do we check if there's which environment we're in? If we can spell environment correctly. Which is the currently running environment? Mix env. So mix env. So let's try doing key. So if it's mix env, if it's test, it's that. API key, else we'll do API key or that. Kind of ugly code. But I'm curious to see if this will unblock us. If we don't want to run things with the environment variables on. I guess you can't do ternary operators. What am I thinking? Let's just do this. We'll refactor later to come up with a better solution. But get it to work, refactor later. So it would be API key or we do that. Right. Let's go the extra mile. So we're not in Ruby. I was automatically defaulting to Ruby. Let's run that test again. See if we can try to hit that. That debugger. Oh, there's a way to run tests so that you can debug. Do I run it in IEX? IEX dash X mix test? Yeah, there we go. Yeah, that's how we get it. That's how we get to use the debugger. We have to run it. We have to run it in IEX. Is there any relationship between Ruby and Elixir beyond syntax? Kind of similar. The creator, the Elixir was heavily inspired by those languages. I don't remember if the creator of Elixir was a Ruby developer originally. Let's find out. I know the Phoenix framework, the web development framework, I know that was the one of the original maintainers for Rails created it. So that's why Phoenix feels very Rails-like. So this is like the whole like introduction to it. But Elixir Lang. History is a creator of Elixir language, a research and do a project platform data, goal to the high example. Yeah, so being a Ruby developer, he used the features of Ruby Erlang closure to develop a high concurrency, low latency language. So yeah, so that's why it feels very Ruby-like, is because the man was a Ruby developer. And he's super active on Twitter and a super nice person. So he's not like this like elusive creator that you don't know who they are. He's active on Twitter. He's always been trying to make the language better. Gets super stoked at people using it. It'd be great to to go to a conference at some point and potentially meet him or be in the presence of him because he seems like a super cool guy. Builder Argus, greetings and salutations. All right, so mix env returns back test. So the question is, what does this do? Oh wait, I have this completely reversed. Whoops. There we go. No need for environment variables now. No need to set the environment variables if we've already recorded the request with said environment variables and stub things out. Cool. So that will unblock if we want to run this on CI. So now let's get back to our originally scheduled intentions, and that was to write the next set of tests. When we run these next set of tests, we'll have to probably run them with the environment variables on because the next request is going to require the actual key to actually do one successful request, and then XVCR will stub that request. So let's just keep on going down the line. So we tested out retrieve. Most of these tests are going to be fairly straightforward because we're pretty much just doing a pass through of most of these values. List databases. Get list databases. List database. So list databases does not receive anything, does not need to receive anything unless you want to query for additional information. So let's try running list databases manually. So Doppler run IEX -s mix. Interesting. All right. So let's go ahead and try invoking this. So then Notion API list databases, list databases, call it. And we just get empty back. We probably have to give it permissions to have access to a specific database. Hello, Frackberg. How's it going? All right, I need to log into my Notion. So let me do that real quick because apparently I am not logged in. Actually, I should probably do this one and not be right back. There we go. So we're going to give explicit action, because this endpoint only works if you give explicit access to a database. Um, right now it has access to all of like the stuff at a root level, but in order to get list databases, you have to like give it very explicit access to one and only one database, to those individual databases. So there you go. That's what we would expect back. So we do list databases. In our response, we would expect to have an object of list. We're just going to do some loose validation here. It'd probably be less brittle if we just asserted that the results was just empty. It's not even a recommended endpoint anyway. Which is interesting. So it still works, even if we did that. Here, let's just validate that it has these keys. Has more. Next cursor. Since this library is in beta, who knows like how in flux everything's gonna be. So we'll just do some loose validations on these. Let's try running our test now. That seems to work. Now let's run our test without environment variables since we've successfully recorded one. That works too. Let's go ahead and make this break real quick just for sanity's sake. New key. Sure, let's add a plus sign in there. Yep, there we go. Now it fails. I can dig it. Let's see. So let me commit this small change right here. This is the to get the test API key thing going. Simple stub for when API when there is no key during testing. During test. Small commits. Now this is our recording of our request and it's starring out the actual key. That's what we configured last Friday, just to make sure that the key that we're using to actually do the request is not saved to our file. And then we wrote our new test. So create tests for list databases. Cool. Now we're just going to go down the line and keep on going with this. Next. So query database is another get, and this is just query databases, query database. There we go. There it is. So database ID. Let's query one of these guys. Query for this one. One thing I will have to remember to do is to never delete that Notion page that we're using for testing, because it's going to completely screw up the test if I ever delete it. This workspace. Let's see. So test create database without query params. Params. This is actually a post. Post create database. No params. So luckily I added some example responses here that I can look at. So these are the same objects that it expects. And what I'm probably going to do here is validate the results so that it actually, we can count how many results are in there. So get response. Oops. Results. Map.size. I'm not sure if I like this syntax. I'm not even sure if that's going to work. Let's test it and see. So it's on a map. It's an enum. So I expect the enum count to be 3 because there's going to be 3 different items in the database. So let's find out if that's actually true. That's true. Nice. I'm not sure where that empty object came from, though. That's weird. Like this empty curly braces. All right, let's do another test where we post with params. And we'll do the exact same thing we did here in the documentation where we are doing the params for page size. And I expect this to be 1. So still 3. I must have some code in here that's logging params that are coming out, which is why we're seeing that. Let's take a look at the documentation for this. Number of items from the full list of desired responses. Let me try running this query in the command line. See what this returns back. That seems to return back 1. Let's see here. Let's grab this. Let's test our code. So we set that to response. So response is that object. Let's go ahead and do this little piece of logic here. And that's 1. F24. Page size 1. Oh, that's why. We're using the same recording. So we gotta use a brand new cassette. So our XVCR was working just fine. Developer error, as per usual. There we go. Now it's working. Because we told it to use a new cassette. Creating the database is getting a little bit more interesting. Well, let's go ahead and do it. Create database. Post create database. Okay, so I don't have an example for this yet. Any example docs for this. So should actually be a good developer and get on that. So let's go ahead and put that there. So create database requires the parent ID, a title. So the parent ID would be this page right here, which is this ID right here. It would be then be the title. New database. And any optional parameters. But the optional parameters can default to nothing. So let's test this out. Create database. I forgot the exclamation mark. There we go. So we should see a new database right there. Great. And this would be our response. Outdented here doc, the content side of here doc should be indented at the same level as the closing. Okay. And then the example probably needs to be indented more in. That example looks good. Everything's just off a little bit. A little confused here. Out indented here doc line. The content inside this here doc should be indented at the same level as the closing. Oh wait, is this? Oh, it's one off. Okay, there we go. Much more better. Okay. Now, let's try doing the exact same thing in the tests. What I'm going to do is I am going to delete this database because the test is going to attempt to create one. So we'll get back an OK tuple with the response object, and then it's going to have all sorts of confirmation stuff in it. We can validate the keys like we were doing before. So created time, ID, object is there, last edited time, object, parent, properties, title, properties and title. Okay. We can validate that the response parent well, we need to get two keys in. I want to get the parent and the page ID. There's supposed to be an Elixir, like, get in is the top level system function for when you're trying to get multiple keys, I believe. Get in. Yeah. Get. So we get in the response an array because we want to get multiple key. We want to get nested. And yes, parent. Inside the parent is the page. Come on. Come on, fingers. Page ID. And the page ID should be equal to this, although it's going to have dashes in it. I wonder if we can just strip the dashes. Let's look up any methods to strip. Or replace. Subject pattern replacement. String replace. So it's subject pattern replacement is empty. And then we can probably also assert on the title. So we go to grab title, and then in title There's another map, and we can grab the plain text. And equal new database. Let's see if that does any wowie wows. That's gonna fail. Need to run the test with environment variables. Do line 46 terminator end. Did I not close something? On line 47. Yeah, there's something not closed properly here. So that there's an extra parentheses. On line 47. Oh. Line 49. Do we have another extra? Yes, we do. Access calls for keywords except the key to be an atom dot plain text. Interesting. Oh, it's an array title. So it's title. Title is an array. So it's an enum. And we want to grab the first one. Trying to see if there's anything other than fetch, like a shortcut, like in Ruby, where it's just like first at. I guess it would just be enum at 0. Plain text. Hmm. So the following arguments were given to get in. Oh. Get in expects it as an array. We can swap this over to a map get, but I'm using get in over here. I'm just kind of just following. All right, now it passes. So our test ran and it created the database. Now, if we run the test without environment variables, it works just fine. So creation's done. These other ones are privates. And that makes it so that the create database It's done. Cool. Oh, interesting. They're still tweaking stuff. So you can, when you do an update a page, you can archive it to get rid of it instead of deleting it. Interesting. So that makes creating and querying databases done. Hey, uh, let's see how we say that. Malgior. Thank you much for that follow. Welcome. Hopefully, I didn't butcher that name too much. All right, let's commit this. Right, test for query and create databases. Cool. And the UI testing should work now that it's like successfully mocking things out. Yeah, there we go. Yeah. Cool. Now we have tests for the databases endpoints. We can officially move on to implementing pages. So where we left off last time is we were working on retrieve page, the page ID. And let's see, we will try to do this in a TDD sort of style. And hopefully it works fine, or we don't hit too much friction. So instead of testing this in the console like we've been doing previously, we'll do assertions that we get the data back properly, and we'll see how things go. So I'm just going to copy this whole thing right here. I'll probably just get rid of most of the tests, just so we have our scaffold here. Pages test. And we're going to be testing the pages module. So we want to alias that so we can just shortly refer to pages. And get retrieve pages. So pages, retrieve pages, and the page we're probably going to be retrieving is this root page right here. So this ID right here is the one we'll be retrieving. Let's take a look at the docs to see what we get back. So we should be getting back, choose a page object using the ID specified. Let's take a look at the docs for the page object. So we'll get an ID, we'll get an object back, ID, created time, last edited time, archived properties, and two more, parent and URL. So a page object contains property values for a single Notion page. All pages have a parent. If the parent is a database, the property values conform to the schema laid out database properties. Otherwise, the only property value is title. Page content is available as blocks. You can retrieve blocks. I wonder if this is going to work because this page is technically the workspace. All right. I'm going to look at the example response to see if we can potentially match on something. Well, let's just try this. We're going to do the string replace thing again. String. So we don't have to worry about dashes. Replace dashes with no dashes. Should be going to bed now, actually. But it's Friday, right? Because it's Friday, you're just, you'd want to stay up later. Milk all the time you can while it's the weekend. So it looks like it returned it back, but it's just out of order. I wonder if it looks like it's just a different alphabetical order. A, B, C, D, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P. Yeah, this is just an alphabetical order. I'll just take the left side and copy and paste it in for the assertion. If not, we can always do a sort. Sort the keys. Nice. Let's just manually test that next. So what type of event do you do any active programming? And if so, Sammy or Jammy, what is your what is the thing you do for your daytime? So we got the ID properly. There is the parent is just the workspace. I guess the parent identifies that it is the workspace. That's interesting. Good to know. And then we would drill down to try to get the title if we wanted to. But pardon me, I guess we could try to do the same thing we did over here where we're drilling down for the information. We've already kind of written the code to do it. We grab the response. We would have to go into properties. Looks like we'd have to go into properties and then title again. So properties, title, and then title gives an array. And then in there, we grab plain text, and that would be the thin Notion test workspace. And that's the extent of our testing. Nice. Test. So we create a test for retrieve page. Nice, nice, nice. That's it. I mean, it's just that to retrieve a page. All right, next. Let's go to create a page. So create a page is a post request. And it's going to take in a couple different things. It looks very similar to when we're creating a database. Oh, you know what we need to do? We need to add the spec for this before we continue on. This should be returning back a map. At doc. And let's add the documentation for this for retrieve page. What does it say about this? Retrieves a page object using the ID specified. Each page property is computed with a limit of 25 page references. Therefore, relation property values feature a maximum 25 relations. Roll up property values are calculated based on the maximum 25 relations. Not exactly sure what that means. Probably if I actually tried to play around with them more, I would. I like this call out. Response contains page properties, not page content. To fetch page content, use the retrieve block children endpoint. Good thing to point out. And then our examples are like this. I keep on accidentally invoking Copilot to show me stuff. So there's our request to pages retrieve, and then need to show the payload response. There we go. Cool. Cool, cool, cool. On to the next one. Let's well actually before going on to the next one, let's commit this change. Doc to retrieve. That was fast. Luckily we had the so the nice thing about doing these doc header type of things is they're designed so that you can just copy and paste IEX output and just stick it into the doc header, and that's it. So like you see how it's like IEX dash, and it's like basically I can just copy this whole thing, paste it into here. I'll just get rid of the 10 just for formatting stuff, and it's compatible. You just got to get the indentions just right, but boom, you have example input output that fast. No other crazy formatting. It's designed just to like copy and paste into there. So that's like it's so developer friendly and actually promotes writing in doc stuff. Now, let's work on create a page. Luckily, all this stuff is super clean and easy because we're being very lightweight with the API wrapper so far. So create a page. So we're going to be taking in a parent, database parent, or page parent, properties, and children. So I'm assuming it would be like a parent ID. Can I make this? I really wish I can make this this example code bigger. Like I can make the page bigger, but it does not let me make the little code example thing right here bigger. Looking at it with JavaScript actually makes it a little bit more consumable. So the parent is just an ID. So parent ID is fine. And then properties is going to be the properties of the page. And children. Page content for the new page, isn't right? The keys are the names or IDs of the properties and the values. So Syrup King, how's it going? Thanks for using the hiring command. We are actively looking for developers for coding for Zeal. So if you love doing Ruby on Rails or were we interested into it, yeah, you're more than welcome to try. And hopefully you're having a good day. Children. I'm like a little dyslexic when I type out children. I always type out child and an ERN. Children and still children for some reason. And it's always the same. It's always consistent. I always do it. And I always have to catch myself doing it. So we're doing a post to pages, to just pages. And then we have to do a whole crazy body stuff. I'm going to take a look at how I did it over here for the databases for now. Body params. Let's see if setting the parent param is the exact same thing. Parent database ID. Database parent or page parent? Interesting. Hmm. So there's a difference. It's not just one. Oh, that's not good. Or that doesn't make it easier for me. I was hoping that I can just have the user pass in the ID and then I can just set it, but I need to know if the ID is a page or a parent, or a page or a database, not a page or a parent, a page or a database. I'm just trying to think how I would want to do that. I can easily just like pass in a flag, but I could be like parent type, like set a thing that says parent type. Set page, and this would be the ID. Something in I'm thinking parent type, so then I can do some matching on it and just have two different create pages that handle things slightly differently depending on the page type, whether it's a parent, an atom for parent, or an atom for page. So it'd be an object like this, or a map like this, would be the thing that's returned. And this would be page ID. And then this would be just the ID, like that. And then this needs to be percent symbol also. How do we do the set parent? We did a put map put parents. So map dot put map parents, and then it'd be this to follow the way we were doing it before. Whoa. I need to figure out how to get auto formatting to work for this, for my IDE. So what I can do here is like when parent type equals page, then we do set page parent, like that. Next. So the minimum thing we have to do for the properties is set the title name, I believe. The keys are the names or IDs of the property, and the values are the property values. Each database must have exactly one database property of type title. So that's for databases. What about for pages? It looks like maybe for pages. I mean, we can just do a straight pass through too. In the same way we do set properties. So like that. The children one's a little interesting. How? So children is going to be an array. Is that at? No, it's not. Okay. So do this. Do this. And we're going to finish this last thing here, and then we're going to call it for today. Unused character children. Well, we're using children now. Or we're going to, that is. And children, I believe, can just be an empty array. So we're just going to default that to empty array. Let's see if this works. For pages. So post create page. So we're going to start writing our test and see how it runs. Post create page. Create page. So create page needs a parent ID. Oh, first it needs a type. So the atom is going to be page. And then it needs a parent ID. So we'll stick with this page as our root one. And what else do we need here? Does it need properties? Let's see what happens if we do empty properties for this. What do we expect back? Our response back is going to be object ID, parent, archived URL, and properties. Oh, we'll see what happens. Let's just run this. We should get a failure because these keys aren't going to match up if it successfully creates it. So it looks like it did create a. Did it create something? I don't see anything here. Oh, we didn't save. That's why. Cheers to that. Oh yeah, there it is. It created an untitled page for us. So that actually worked, surprisingly. Object ID, parent properties, URL. We can probably assert on the title of untitled if possible. So it'd be under name, I think. So under properties is an object. Name. Title. Enum 0. Plain text. Untitled. Give that a spin. So that failed, which is fine. So let's see what it failed. A numeral is not implemented for type nil of type atom. Maybe the data we get back isn't what I expect it to look like. So I do properties, name, title, and then title has an array. And that gives me plain text, which gives me that. Yeah, properties name. You can see right there, properties name title. Let's see. Let's see what the test fails at. How how fast it fails. Oh, it's just untitled. Wait, no, it's not just untitled. It says nil. What does our data look like then? It's properties. So it's properties title. And there's no, I guess because there's no title, it's just empty because it's untitled. Properties title, empty in here. Can't make much way heads or tails of this. I guess when it's untitled, it's in a very unique state. Property value object contains an array. So the title property contains an array with objects in it. So since it's untitled, that array contains nothing in it. Okay. So property title, and then the enum here would be, it wouldn't be enum at. We'd probably just do an enum count. Not concat count of 0 because it's untitled. And it would be name, it's this properties title. We're going to do a new cassette recording, post create page of type. So we're going to create a brand new cassette for this. Because we're renaming. So it properties, title. There. So like the same thing up here, properties, title. Good. Check mark. Check mark. So we'll leave it at that for today. The next thing we'll have to do a test for is creating one of type database. Because we just created a page of type page. We use a create page to create a page, but the next one we want to do is create a database and update the docs after that. So this one should fail in like miserably because this we have yet to implement the logic to handle the database. So I'm going to write the test so that when we get back to this next time, the test will immediately fail, telling me what I need to implement in case I forget. So we'll go ahead and write the test, commit it, and have that in that broken state so the test can tell us, hey, you're missing stuff. This test, this recording can go away. Implement create page for type page. All right, making good progress. So we finished databases, we're on pages, and then we have to move, and then we're just going to progressively move downwards on the docs, implementing the rest of these things. But we're reaching a good cadence now. We have testing. We're just matching against validating the data. The post and patch these post and patches are going to be the most difficult ones because those require more complex data to pass through, and trying to evaluate whether we can try to make it easier for people to, create, update things without having to just know about all the raw data if possible. So that is it for me. I hope you have a great rest of your day and a good weekend. And I will catch you on the next stream. So, yeah. And give us a follow on YouTube. I've been trying to post these guys on YouTube. Let's see, not yet. YouTube. Yeah. So, the recording for last week will be up today, and then I'll try to get the recording for this stream up and by next week. Twitch is a little slow at me being able to download stuff, so usually it takes a little bit, but give us a follow on YouTube if you want to watch the recordings for the streams, and I will catch you later.